All right, Steeler fans, it is Friday, the second half of the Let's Ride podcast, which means it's time for the All Betz Are Off segment with Jeremy Jerome Betz. What's up, Jerome? How's it going?
Man, all bets are off for this week. It is football, football, football every
That's
day,
right.
and I'm excited for it. Let's do it.
That is right. And the Steelers are going to be going to MetLife Stadium. I don't know. What's your gut tell you about this game?
Oh man, I am so pumped about this Steelers team this year. Honestly, I think that there's a chance. I think there's a chance that they could roll in this game. I don't think there's any chance they lose. Knock on wood, whatever you want me to do. I don't think there's any chance the Steelers lose this week one matchup against the Jets. There's too many. I hate to say the word vibes, but there's too many vibes going the Steelers' way. From Aaron Rodgers' revenge narratives to what we saw from the offensive line and the defense that they've put together. I just think that a team like the Jets, it's like a fringe fun team, right? Like they could be okay. They could be feisty this year.
Yeah.
Those are the teams that the Steelers typically take and mop the floor with, or it's really close sometimes. Yes, but the last few seasons, Mike Tomlin has done a good job, I think, of prepping his team for those games. I think that the Steelers kind of control this game from start to finish, even if the score doesn't quite indicate it because of some bumps and uh, uh, things that are maybe a little bit sticky because it's the first game of the season. I just think that the Steelers are going to kind of take this one under control very early and be the team that is better on both sides of the
Oh,
ball.
I hope you're right. I really hope you're right. I think that it's going to be a situation where if the Steelers can do a couple things, I talked about this in the first half with keys to victory. Like, for instance, if they can slow down the Jets' running game, and I'm talking about
Yeah.
all facets, not just the running backs. I'm also talking about Justin Fields. But when I started to talk about that, I started to think about the loss of guard Vera Tucker. What's your take on that injury, and how does that impact the Jets?
It's a big one. It's kind of like the counter, I guess, if you will, to the Steelers not having Derek Harmon for this game, just for this matchup specifically. Obviously,
Right.
Elijah Vera Tucker's injury is more severe, and he's going to miss the full season. It's not good news for the Jets. I think Keanu Benton looked very, very good on defense this summer. I think that Y.A. Black looked really good. They've got the depth there that they want. As long as Cam Hayward is out on the field and any of this contract stuff doesn't keep him from joining the team in week one, and I don't think it will, I think that the Steelers are going to be just fine there. I think from the Jets' perspective, they're going to have to get creative, though, because he was their best run blocker, and he was their most experienced of the young really good linemen that they're expecting to have this year. So I think it helps the Steelers. I do expect the Steelers to try to force the Jets into passing situations. And if that is the case, then I think that the Steelers have the advantage.
What do you think Justin Fields is going to look like? Do you think it's going to be the same that we saw last year in terms of
Yeah.
super conservative? And, I do think that Mike Tomlin kind of had the handcuffs on him last year. Do you think we're going to see that? Or do you think we're going to see more of we're just going to run him? Like, what do you think
Yeah.
the approach is with Fields at quarterback?
I think that there's going to be a little bit of like an unleash factor for Justin this year. And I kind of harken back to the Steelers playing the Chicago Bears Monday Night Football. Everybody remembers that game for Cassius Marsh running into the ref and getting flagged, and then the Steelers, kind of winning that game with some controversy there at the end. But I look back at that game and I remember Justin Fields putting up a career stat line as a passer against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it's because they absolutely shut him down on the ground. They decided that he was not going to beat them on the ground. They were going to force him to beat them through the air. I wonder if we see something similar from Fields, but I wonder if it starts out slow because they are going to try to kind of pound the rock with him and lean into this RPO type action game that gets the running backs involved, gets him involved. The Steelers have done well in the past against rushing quarterbacks. I mean, they play Lamar Jackson twice a year. They've held other guys in check. They beat Jane Daniels last year in Washington. So there's precedent for the Steelers being good there. But I do think Justin Fields is going to be kind of just given control to let his eyes and his legs tell the tale. So he's not going to be held back, I don't think.
Do you think that the Jets' passing attack, meaning not just Fields throwing the ball, but the receiving core, do you think it's good enough if they do stop the run to be able to beat the Steelers secondary, which now all of a sudden it's so weird to say is actually pretty darn good?
Yeah. Absolutely not. I don't think so. I think that there's one guy that could provide you some mismatches if you work him around the formation, and that's the only guy is Garrett Wilson. He's the one to me, though, that the Steelers are going to take away in the passing game because Jeff, he's kind of best as like a Z receiver, but he moves around the formation. And if you've got Joey Porter Jr. locking him down in man coverage on the outside, and then he tries to move inside, and all he does is meet Jalen Ramsey there, I just don't see how this guy gets a lot of free run against the Steelers secondary. So that's kind of why I feel like the Steelers are in a good spot. It's a good matchup for them as long as they can control things on the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, we're all excited. We've had well over 2 weeks to get ready for this game. But we got to talk about some AFC North games, too, because there's a whole lot of football action going on. In Cleveland, Cincinnati goes to Cleveland. Joe Burrow and that high-flying offense against a Browns defense that now Myles Garrett is been popped up on the injury report with a hip injury. I'm not sure what that's all about, but Joe Flacco will be quarterbacking the Browns. The Bengals are giving 5.5 points on the road with a total of 48.5. What do you think about this game, the Battle of Ohio?
Yeah. So it's very strange, but Cleveland has been Joe Burrow's kryptonite over his career. They beat him last year early in the season and started kind of like the early season spiral for the Bengals. I think it was the Patriots that beat him in week 1, and that started it. And then the Browns took him out the following week, and everybody's like, what's going on with the Bengals? So I think that this is a very interesting game because where the Bengals struggle the most on the defensive side of the ball is actually where I think Joe Flacco and a guy like Jerry Jeudy and David Njoku, those guys can kind of feast a little bit, and that's in the passing game, intermediate passing game. Joe Flacco's going to see those holes in the defense. He's going to hit those as long as the offensive line can keep him upright. I think that that's a way to attack the Bengals. I just don't know if it's going to be enough, and that's going to be the tale all season for the Bengals because the Bengals can probably put up 30 plus on anybody, even the best defenses in the league. Cleveland isn't expected to field one of those defenses, especially if Garrett is out. So I do see a high scoring game. I would take the over on whatever the over is here, or whatever the over under is, but
48.5.
Okay. Yeah. I'd still take the over on that. I think both teams get into the mid 20s of points. And I do think the Bengals probably end up covering in the end, but I think it's more of a high scoring, close affair than maybe some would give credence to from a Browns angle.
I think the Bengals are going to flip the script this year. And when I say that, what I mean is I think they're going to get off to a good start and they're going to flounder late. So they're going to do the complete opposite of what they usually do. I think they win. I think they cover easily. I think this is a double-digit deficit that they win by. So I would take the Bengals giving 5.5.
Yes.
I would take the over. I think this is a game where the Browns might get some garbage time, like a backdoor cover in terms of the total.
Sure.
So there you go. So let's go to our next game, which obviously we go to the Steelers will be the last. It's Sunday night, and this game is going to be an incredible environment in Buffalo. The Baltimore Ravens travel to Orchard Park. The Ravens are actually spotting the Bills 1.5 on the road. Home dogs, the Buffalo Bills. The total, the highest total number of the week across the National Football League, 50.5. Jeremy, what do you think about this one?
Okay, so this one, I mean, it's the game of the week, in my opinion. Like, it's better than
one of them. It's one of them for sure.
Yeah. And by the time you guys listen to this, Eagles Cowboys is over.
Correct.
We've got Chiefs and Chargers tonight. So there's some really good games in the primetime slate. But when I look at overall, who's got the highest duo of expectations here of any of the teams that are meeting, it's these two. If Baltimore doesn't win a Super Bowl, they're not going to be happy. If Buffalo doesn't win a Super Bowl, they're not going to be happy. That's the expectation. That is the goal for both of those teams. So when I look at this, I think that all the hype goes into these quarterbacks, right? All the hype goes into these offenses. And I just have this feeling that it's going to be tight and low scoring, Jeff. I don't know how you feel about it, but I think that you better be banging the under on this one because defenses are usually ahead of offense. There's a lot of continuity with these two teams, though. But the thing is that the Bills compiled a lot of capital into their defense this year, and the Ravens defense was the best in the league to close out the season last year. So I think a defensive struggle is in play. I would take the under on this, but in the end, I think Baltimore wins it. I think they're the best team in the NFL this year, and I think they show that this week.
If I cared enough, and I don't, I would have looked up like the quarter by quarter totals because yes, degenerates know that you can bet like half totals and stuff. In the first half, I would take the under, whatever it is, because I think it's going to be a very cautious start. We talked about the defenses, and then I think in the second half is when they're just going to say, you know what, screw this, let's go. Yeah. But I do want to underscore Isaiah Likely, tight end for the Ravens, is not going to be in this game. That's a big blow for this Baltimore offense that does like to utilize their tight ends. And so I do want to underscore that. Buffalo is at home getting points. Give me the Buffalo Bills getting points at home. I'm not sure if they're going to win straight up, but I think it's going to be really close. Yeah. I could see this being a 21-20 type game, in which case that 1.5 might be what you need to get the win. The total 50.5. I'm leaning with you. I'm thinking under. Yeah. I think that's way too high for a week one, but we always have a game in week one every year that is just bonkers. So I wouldn't be shocked if it goes over, but I'll take the Buffalo Bills getting points at home in the under. Any other thoughts on this one?
Well, like if one thing is going to happen, you would expect it to be like both quarterbacks kind of just take over the game. So maybe that would play into the higher number if you're wanting to just say, well, in the end, I'm taking Josh Allen to run over whoever's coming at him from Baltimore, and I'm taking Lamar Jackson to run around whoever's coming at him from Buffalo. So the quarterbacks do play into this a lot, but I just think team-wise, if you're looking at them from an outside perspective, I think both teams would rather be defensive-led to a degree this year, the way they like to play football.
It'll be interesting. I would say the only other game of the week outside of primetime games would probably be outside of Pittsburgh is the Detroit-Green Bay game. I think is going to be fascinating to watch in a lot of reasons. But we're not talking about that one. The game that everyone cares about, the Pittsburgh Steelers go to the New York Jets. This line has remained pretty true even since when the odds were first released after the schedule was released in the month of May. The Jets are getting 3 points at home, so another home dog here. The total is 38.5. So, Jeremy, I want to know your prediction. How do you see it playing out?
Yeah, and I don't know where you're getting. Are you getting your odds from DraftKings or FanDuel?
DraftKings is what I have right in front of me, yes.
So I was looking at it yesterday on ESPN Bet, and it was a 3-point margin, and then today it was 2.5 for going the Steelers' way. So I don't know what would have changed that, except maybe the Cam Hayward contract situation after he said maybe that's where the half point. I don't know, but doesn't really matter to me. Like I said, I think the Steelers have a chance to go in and roll this thing. Here's kind of my take on it. I just feel like this is going to be one of those games, one of those Mike Tomlin specials where you just kind of feel like, man, if this were the Chiefs, it would be 30-10 right now, but it's not. It's 20-10 or it's 17-10, and we're just kind of grinding it out here. And so I think that the Steelers do win. I think they cover. My score prediction is 20-13. I think it's well under. I like the Steelers defense to set the tone. And then eventually I like the running game to actually break out in this one enough to ice the game. My bold prediction for the week was Caleb Johnson's going to have a 20-plus yard run, and it's going to be in the fourth quarter to more or less ice the game as he kind of works into that bruiser grinder type role that I think the Steelers envision for him in this offense. So I like the Steelers in all facets, and then I like the under in this one for sure.
All right. So for me, I like this line is weird. 2.5 makes more sense than 3 to me in terms of the fact that they're on the road. But there's so many new faces and new places. It's tough to gauge. In the first half of the show when I did my keys to victory, talking about the offense almost felt stupid because you have no clue. They're going to call plays differently. You have a new quarterback. You have new weapons. I mean, it is totally different. So we're really going to be sitting there as a fan base watching this thing play out as we go. but I still think the Steelers are going to score points. And Mike Tomlin said something on Tuesday. He said, I hope we win and I hope we score points. And I'm going to ask you this, Jeremy, before I give you my prediction. I don't think he's going to handcuff Aaron Rodgers like he's done Mitch Trubisky, Kenny Pickett, Justin Fields, and Russell Wilson. I think he's going to let him sling it. You agree or disagree?
I totally agree. One thing stood out to me, like with a bullet. It was Arthur Smith saying, we're not going to avoid the middle of the field this year. We did that with Russ. Like him coming out and saying, we avoided the middle of the field with Russ because it's not his strength, to me was like, boom, this is what we've been talking about. And now that training wheel is off. The middle of the field's open for business, baby, and they're going to roll. And I think Aaron Rodgers is suited to that if he sees it. And I think that the Steelers, tight end heavy offense, they could be suited to that as well. So I like that. I don't know what your score prediction is yet, but like I said, if the Steelers do kind of roll with this, I could see a bigger spread there. It just feels like a week 1 Steeler game to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I've got the Steelers winning this one 24-17. I think this is going to be over the 30.5 line, 38.5 line. I think I've got the over. So I like the Steelers giving the points. I think that at some point they're going to kind of take their foot off the gas and maybe the Jets get a late touchdown to make it look a little bit closer than it actually was. I think this offense is going to be a lot of fun. It might struggle early. Fans, be prepared for some bumps in the road early. Just pray that it doesn't turn into a turnover. If they can just keep it clean, I think they're going to be just fine. But still, I like the Steelers 24-17. All right, Jeremy, before I let you out of here, what are your final thoughts? Anything?
That 8-month wait for Steelers football is just for there to be a 3-and-out on the opening possession is going to be it's going to be fun, right? It's going to hit like a ice bucket of water over the head. But no, I think that I'm very high on the Steelers compared to even a lot of Steeler fans. My kind of bold take on the team is that they won't win fewer than 11 games this year. I think that they get to 11. And if that is the case, then it has to start with these first games. I wrote an article for Steel Curtain Network about like the 4 acts of the season. And this is the part where they're trying to get their feet wet a little bit on the offensive side of the ball specifically. I think that this is one of those games where you kind of test that against a good defense, not a great defense probably, but a good defense. So it's a good initial test. I'm excited for it. And a lot of content coming up for me on those items from Steelers Fix to Draft Dynasty Podcast. It's going to be all over the place. So stay tuned.
Love it, Jeremy. As always, man, thanks for your time. Enjoy the game. We'll talk next week. Take it easy.
Have a good one, Jeff.
See ya.